Golden Spiral Media presents The Blacklist Exposed.
Season 6 is right around the corner, and we are super excited to be with you here on The Blacklist Exposed. Welcome back, everybody. I am Agent Troy Heinrichs.
And I'm Agent Aaron Peterson, and this week we are talking to the Stunt Coordinator for The Blacklist, Cort Hessler. I believe it's the third, but we're just going to call him Cort Hessler because I'll forget all those numbers because I can't add or do maths.
It is a long generation of fun, that's for sure. Show notes and other safety instructions, and safety instructions are super important on this episode of The Blacklist Exposed. Can be found at theblacklistexposed.com because Cort is amazing. He's an Emmy winner, and he took the time out to come talk to all of you about what stunts look like, not only just on the Blacklist, but across all of Hollywood in general.
Yeah, and I want to say this is a great interview because he covers a lot of his body of work and how he got into the business, what that business means for him. Like, what does it actually mean to be a stuntman or a stunt coordinator? And we also talk about his work on the Blacklist, his favorite stunts, his least favorite stunts, and also some interaction with obviously the Blacklist gang, as well as Tom Cruise, Will Smith, come up near the end. So you've got a smorgasbord, if you will, of stunt talk. That's what we should call this episode, Stunt Talk by Cort Hessler. And
of course, he teases season 6 ever so briefly, but there is a little nugget in there for you.
It's very briefly, but he does tease it. I guess it's a tease. Maybe. And this is, hopefully you guys are going to enjoy this. I mean, this is kind of a little early, but we're trying to throw a little something in the feed every now and again. And I think this is a really great interview to take a gander to while you're frothing at the mouth for the new Blacklist, which, by the way, I believe season 5 is now on Netflix, right?
It's probably, yes. I have no idea. I have not looked.
Okay.
It's definitely it's definitely out on DVD.
Yeah, it's out somewhere. So catch up, make sure, because January it's coming back. We don't have the official back date, but it's coming back in January, so we want to get ready. You might want to re-up and go through the whole series again, just so you can get ready for whatever's coming.
Yeah, 100 plus episodes. Definitely can fit that in one a day between now and January for sure.
Especially if you watch it at 2 times speed, right, Troy?
Absolutely.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and let the interview speak for itself. Here's our interview with the stunt coordinator for The Blacklist, Cort Hessler. Cort, how are you?
Good. How are you guys?
Fabulous.
Wonderful. Question I have first off the bat, same thing I ask everybody the first time I talk to them. When did you know you wanted to be involved in filmmaking? Was there a specific moment or just something that was a lifelong dream?
Well, I guess it wasn't a lifelong dream because when I was a kid, I was a daredevil, and I didn't equate that to anything being film-wise at all. There was no connection to it back then. It wasn't until I was in high school and I started working for Disney, and I got my first taste of it, not just at the live shows, but we would do Disney in-house commercials, and I got to see filming. I got to do it, and I was like, man, I like this. This is something that would be really fun. So I gave it back to Walt Disney World in Florida that started me on the path and created that dream for me to go after it.
And why stunts in particular?
Again, it falls back to my childhood, being the kid down the block that would jump the trash cans with the wooden ramp and doing the crazy stuff, jumping off the roof into the snow. And if the neighborhood could think of it, I'd try it. I'd go first. So I think it was that mentality. And then growing up the way I did, I grew up racing bicycles and always competing. And I think that's part of doing stunt work.
So somewhere on YouTube right now, there's a video of you doing that run and jump flip thing that the kids are doing these days. Is there something that of you, some old footage that we haven't seen before?
No, back then we didn't have video really. And actually I'm thankful for that. These days I'd be in trouble. Yeah, no, I don't have any old videos of any of that. Jump in the trash cans or jump in the big wheels, being sent on the ice first. And if I fell through, nobody goes on the ice. If I didn't fall through, everybody else would come on. I'm glad I don't have videos. It's in my head for sure. I remember it well.
And before we get too deep in the interview, I just got to mention this because I think people should understand your filmography is daunting. A lot of movies and TV shows that we know and I adore. Justified, one of my favorites. Burn Notice, I Am Legend. 7 Seconds, which is a newer Netflix show. That's really cool. The Bourne Ultimatum, Fringe, Wanted, Gone Baby Gone. I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot of quality.
My personal favorite, Ringer. I thought that was a great show. Ended too soon.
Yep. Now, like Ringer, I did the pilot. I directed the second unit for them. And I've got lucky with the content that has been offered to me over the years. It's a lot of TV, but it's been a lot of really good TV.
Can we get Justified? Any Justified tidbits? Because that's one of my favorite shows of all time. I hate to ask that, but I'm curious.
No, it's okay. Justified, I did the pilot.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I did because we shot the pilot in Pittsburgh, and then they moved to California. Now, I was in California at the same time that Justified went to series, but I was already signed to do, I believe it was Southland at the same time. So I was doing the TV show Southland at the same time that Justified got picked up from the pilot. Now, that was fun.
Was it a fun show?
It was. Well, first of all, being in Pittsburgh was like they rolled out the red carpet for filming. They just adore film crews. So it was such a great experience where, you know, you get into New York and LA and it's kind of jaded and people, you know, they're over it. They're like, stop taking our parking spots, get out of here and let me go live my life. We're in Pittsburgh, like, oh, you want to park here, park right here. Oh, we got this. And we used the mom and pop stores and we were in the country really for Justified. And it was Michael Dinner directing. It was the first time I worked with Michael, who was awesome. And then after that, I did Sneaky Pete with Michael Dinner.
That's a cool show. That's a cool show.
That was a great show to work on.
Yeah.
We did 2 seasons of that too. But yeah, Justified was just a fun show. I'm talking about, I'm trying to remember the name of the lead, and it slipped my mind right now.
Timothy Olyphant.
Yes. So Timothy, the first time I met him, I was doing a movie called A Lifeless Ordinary. And we were in the middle of nowhere in Utah. And he's a hitchhiker, and he's standing in the middle of the road and had to slide a car up to him. And, you know, he's an actor, so you think, okay, maybe we should have a stunt person here. I was just a stunt guy on that. I wasn't the coordinator. Mm-hmm. The coordinator said, hey, we got a stunt double for you. We'll have him stand there, or we're going to slide the car up to him. No, I'll stand here. And the stunt coordinator told me, he goes, there's no way he's going to stand there when we slide this car up to him. We came in at like 60 miles an hour, locked the brakes up, slid right up to within an inch of his shins. He never budged, and he just smiled.
Get out of here.
I was like, dude, you're a rock star.
He's an ultimate cowboy.
Yeah. So cut 2 years later when we did Justified, it was good to see him again. But cool. That was a great show. It was a lot of fun. It was Pittsburgh. There wasn't a ton of stunts in the pilot. I know the series went on to do a lot of stunts, but I wasn't part of it.
Yeah, I think the beginning or the pilot, all they had was the opening gun showdown, right?
Well, we had the shootout with the boys, the bank robber boys, and then
that's right.
We actually in the pilot. I really don't remember watching the pilot now, but we had actually killed the one character in the house, and he came back, and they rewrote him. Not rewrote him, but I think they didn't write him dying.
Boyd Crowder
shot him yes. So he was in the whole series then.
That's awesome. So you were there when he died.
We killed him in a living room. We shot him point blank in the chest. And then I recall not knowing how the pilot went, but I recall seeing him in the series. I'm like, how can he be in the series? We blew a hole in him. So it was kind of cool to see that. But during his acting there, even Michael Dinner's like, oh, we got to keep him on. He's really good.
Oh, he is. He's grown into one of my favorites.
Yeah, I don't think it was ever planned for him to be a running character. In the beginning, anyway, in the pilot.
Well, thanks for that, because I'm a huge fan, so I was just curious. So take us a bit through your journey. How did you find your way into working in Hollywood as both a stuntman and a stunt coordinator?
First as a stunt person. I was doing live shows. After Disney, I went on to Universal Studios Florida. I opened the park there, and we were doing a boat show. It was like Miami Vice-style boat show. We didn't really have a name back then. We just raced boats around and shotguns and blew things up in jump boats. And what happened with Universal is it was a backlot in Florida. That was the first real backlot in Orlando. So even though MGM Studios had opened and they started filming there, and I think they shot Superboy there, which was like one of the first shows I worked on. Well, Universal really wanted to make sure the guests knew there was filming every single day in that park. So they created a film unit that would go out and shoot stunts every single day. And the name of the movie would be, oh, it's a B-roll for a film we can't talk about.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the best part about that was they flew LA stunt coordinators in to train us. So we were these 18, 19-year-old guys looking, just being sponges and absorbing all this information being brought in, and we were being paid to learn and paid to go out in front of the public. Well, then what happens is now you have TV shows really filming in the back lot, which is out of the public's eye. So all of us would march over there and hand our resumes. We were all proud because we're stunt guys on live shows. Here, hire us. And eventually all of us, moved on to that film world and, TV film. So it was a great, great path that we were able to have because of Disney and Universal. A bunch of us moved on together in Orlando. Having that back lot, and we had an ID, so nobody's going to stop us. We would walk right into the production offices and meet the stunt coordinators, and the next day we were working.
Wow.
Back then in the late 80s, early 90s, there weren't that many stunt people in Orlando. It was all live shows, so they were using all of us to do the shows. And in 1990, I think 94, don't quote me. I think it was 1994, a TV series called Sea Quest had just finished up in Los Angeles, and in July of 1994, they were starting their new season in Florida, Orlando. Just so happens the stunt coordinator I started working for there ended up being the stunt coordinator show, and I was able to double the lead, Jonathan Brandis. I stopped working at Universal, and from that point on, I've done nothing but TV and film work. I worked probably, 7 to 8 years just being a stunt person, building all stunt people build their reputation in the business because we don't have agents. We go by, you're only as good as your last job.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it can be frustrating at times, but there's no real agents for stunt people. And it really, truly is. You are who you are, and you take that with you everywhere you go. In fact, your name gets to where you're going before you get there. And if you've done something stupid, they're going to know about it really quick.
Is there a reason for that? Because it seems like stunts in particular, they seem to be differently represented throughout the industry. Except, the Emmys have a stunt category. Obviously, you've won. But the Oscars still don't, and then you don't have the same kind of representation. Is there a reason why that is?
It's because it goes back to the old song, The Unknown Stuntman, right? And that's because you're a hidden player to make the star look good. You're not supposed to be known. Me growing up Disney, I can accept that because that's what they got in their head. If we were working there, we were building the magic and nothing else mattered. So a stunt person is just that. There's somebody you're supposed to think is the actor, so you don't exist. So that mentality has been going on for a long time. And, the Emmys, it was the first to step up to the plate and said, hey, we're going to give this a shot. In 2002, they created stunt coordination, outstanding stunt coordination. There was no specifics to it. It wasn't outstanding drama, miniseries, limited series, or a comedy. It was all mixed into one category. Since then, now they have two categories. They have outstanding stunt coordination for a drama, limited series, or TV movie, and they have outstanding stunt coordination for a comedy sketch or skit type show.
Mm-hmm.
Then, whenever Bourne Ultimatum was, I think Bourne Ultimatum was the first, the Screen Actor Guild Awards came out and said, hey, you know what? We agree with the Emmys. We're going to give stunt people what they deserve. So they created the SAG Award for stunt honors. And you have stunt ensembles for a feature or stunt ensemble for a television show. So they have two awards.
Mm-hmm.
We've been trying forever to get into the Academy. The reality is you still have a lot of people with that older mentality that think, well, it's the unknown stunt person. It should be behind the camera. Nobody should know about it. It's really about that actor. It's really about that character, really, right? Making the star.
Mm.
So until you get some different minds in there, I don't think we're going to see anything with the Academy for a while. But I will say, you watch, 2 or 3 years ago, Mad Max, Best Picture nomination.
Mm-hmm.
And I've said this a couple times now. That was a music stunt video.
Absolutely.
The entire show from beginning to end is a music score with stunts happening every second. Very minimal acting. But that qualified as a best picture category. They have no reason not to give some kind of stunt category. And you have shows coming out every year, whether it's a rock show or a cruise show. Mission Impossible just happened, where there's big over-the-top action. I do know they have 2 holdbacks, the Academy. One is we don't have room for another category.
Oh, really?
That's blown out of the water because, yeah.
Me.
And now they just came out with Best Popular Movie.
Oh,
really?
Man. I'm not in the industry, and that pissed me off.
Yeah, I don't get, and again, nothing is Academy. I'm not out to get them. I'm not.
No, I get you.
Talk bad about them, but I don't understand that category when there's no room for categories. That category to me is a fallback category. So if a show doesn't get nominated that they really wanted, they can put it in that category. Maybe it's me, conspiracy theory, but I feel like that's part of that. It's
a ratings play too. I mean, it's because the people watching the Oscars are the fans, and the fans want to see their stuff get awards.
That's right. It is a ratings gimmick.
Yeah, and it's a shame because when you think about, especially the type of blockbusters that we see today, it is the stunts that are really the forefront that make the movie. I mean, if you guys are supposed to be in the background and make the actors look good, the actors are looking good because of the stuff that you're doing. You should be nominated and awarded for that.
And now look at the segment clips that they show during the Oscars. 9 times out of 10 it's action.
Mm-hmm.
And quite honestly, the some people are at one point going, you know what? Everybody else has to pay for our clips, so I think you guys have to pay for our clips if you're going to use them and not include us.
I just had this discussion with friends recently about how when that came out, they're going to have a popular award and achievement in film, and then they're going to have the lesser categories. They're going to go commercial break and all these things to juice up the Oscars and whatnot. And all I can think of is, well, you do special effects, they get an award, and you're going to do popular film, and there's no room for more awards. But stuntmen, and this is me speaking, so it's not you, so you're not the one. I'm the one saying something to the Oscars. Stuntmen literally risk their lives for our entertainment. I don't see why that doesn't get rewarded. And TV isn't missing this one, so that's just on the film people. They're missing the boat.
Yep. And I take my hats off to the Academy for Television. They were the first to start any of it. They did it first, then the Taurus Awards came in, then the Screen Actors Guild Awards came in, and the last one standing last holdout is the Academy. And I will tell you this, the last reason, I said they gave 2 reasons. The second reason they didn't really want a stunt category is because they were worried about injuries for stunt players trying to outdo stunt players to get an Academy Award. To me, that's the only one that makes sense. They're worried about people trying to up their game too much.
I mean,
now,
you guys are professionals.
I don't think it has any merit because we have to be professional about it, right? And we have to make it safe. If we're not safe and we get injured people, we're not going to be working. We're not going to be on those big features. Those big features hire the people that they hire because they are safe. And that's all there is to it. That not only do they have to be safe for the stunt people, they have to make sure their actors are safe. So that's why I'm like, I understand it, but I don't buy it. Just recently there was an influx of the Academy letting stunt players become members of the Academy for motion pictures. That's a good sign. So I think down the road, I think we do have a shot, but for now we have to respect their decision and kind of sit back. But the fact that they're starting to let stunt people become members, I think that's showing a little bit of the future what's going to happen.
Way late, but it's never too late. So
yeah, it's never too late. I mean, listen, 2002 for the Academy of Television to do something. Think about the old black and white films where these stunt people were really getting messed up, jumping off of trains into cactuses, sliding under horse-drawn carriages with no padding like we have today. I mean, they were just selling their bodies. So from there to now, yeah, it's never too late.
Well, many of our people in our audience might not even understand the logistics. So if you don't mind, can you kind of talk a little bit about what a stuntman does and lead that into what a stunt coordinator does so they understand what you guys do?
A stunt performer executes the stunt. So you have a stunt coordinator and a stunt performer. The stunt coordinator will read the script, figure out what the action is in the script, have meetings with the producers, writers, directors, all the department heads, and have a collaborative talk about what they really want the stunt to look like. Once that's done, then the stunt coordinator has to design the stunt from beginning to end, where you have to figure out what safety precautions you need to take to keep the stunt performer safe. They need to build or at least design the sequence. So if it's car crashing, you have to design the ramps, the sizes of the ramps, the cages for the cars, go through all of anything you can possibly think of to go wrong. You have to come through that. The stunt people, and the stunt people are, in my opinion, professional athletes. They have to be trained to the highest level in everything they do. So you see a lot of race car drivers doing racing stuff. You see a lot of martial arts people doing fights. The reason for that is obviously safety, right? So the combination of the stunt coordinator and the stunt person, they have to trust each other. And that's where it's hard to have agents. Stunt people, stunt performers have a hard time getting agents because now you have to build a relationship with the stunt coordinator. You have to know them because the stunt coordinator has to trust you to make sure you're going to do what needs to be done. And how do you do that when every stunt is unique? Every time I go to work, it's like going to school the first day. I don't know how every day is going to come out. And that's what I love about this business. Being a stunt coordinator even, it's just so exciting. It's like you never know. So I use this analogy a lot too, to feel the pressure of a stunt person. Take a quarterback, a $12 million quarterback on an NFL team. Mm-hmm. They throw an interception in the game. Okay, yeah, they're bummed, but no big deal, right? What do you think happens if you take that same scenario and a stunt performer messes up and throws an interception? What that interception could be going 2 miles an hour faster in a car. They could hurt or kill somebody.
Yeah.
So it's a big pressure game being a stunt person. And then a stunt coordinator, it's multiplied because now you're telling these people to do it and they're trusting you it's going to be safe. So there's a big, I have no hair left, and there's a reason why. I actually get more of an adrenaline rush being a stunt coordinator than I ever did as a stunt performer. And I did some really big stunts as a stunt performer. I hold a world record for the longest boat jump. And I never had the adrenaline rush that I do now as a stunt coordinator, even doing something like that.
Wait, tell the story. What do you have for the record on?
So I have a world record boat jump. So the longest boat jump before the jump that I did was 121 feet. It was in the James Bond movie.
Okay.
In 1998, I jumped a boat for Fox Television and jumped 139 feet.
What was the show?
Fox Daredevils Live. They had 4 of us on that night, all breaking records that night. So it was Robbie Knievel, myself, Brian Carson, and Spanky Spangler. Spanky Spangler and Brian Carson both did car stunts. Spanky Spangler did a pipe ramp with so many revolutions in the air. Brian Carson jumped a football field goal to field goal with ramps in a car. And Robbie Knievel at that time, I think he jumped, I can't remember the exact number of limousines, maybe it was 16 or 18 limousines. And then I was on doing the boat jumps.
Well, congratulations. You're an Emmy winner and a world record holder.
That's a while ago. That's when I was young and stupid.
I think the boat jump is more impressive because there's more weight behind that because you have to obviously clear the water and then get up the ramp. And then, of course, it all depends if it's inboard or outboard before you can do that. So,
well, it's an outboard, and it was a hard hit, and the motor blew off the boat, and I went from 70 miles an hour to 0 in about 10 feet. Yeah, boats are, they don't have brakes. So they're a little tougher, but that's okay. Did that help explain stunt people to stunt coordinators?
Yeah, absolutely.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you ever worry about it? I mean, I kind of looked at it as a fan. I kind of look at it like I'm doing my job every day. And I imagine after a while, you're pretty It's like just going to work. But I would assume you're still nerve-wracked, and at times it can be very...
It's a job. You know what? It's a job I wouldn't trade in the world. I have fun doing it. But there are parts of it, like anything, you don't like doing. There's a lot of paperwork as a stunt coordinator. There's a lot of meetings. There's a lot of time spent away from your family every single day. So those things get monotonous and tiring, but the fact that you do something different every single time, you can do the same exact stunt, but you're never going to do it in the same exact spot, and you're never going to do it with the same exact people. So it's every single day is a different day. And that's what it's hard to explain to people. Like, to me, I would not be able to love my job if I was 9 to 5 every day, going to the same office, like, sitting at the same desk and doing paperwork. Even if it was spectacular, being a lawyer or a doctor, maybe a doctor, because that's a little different every day with a different patient. But to me, the excitement is something different every time. It's like when I read a script from Blacklist, I get it. It's like Christmas morning. Yeah, there's sometimes you're disappointed. There's nothing in it. You're like, oh, well, I got coal this time. But other times you're like, oh, yeah, this is going to be awesome. I can't wait. And then, you go through that part of it, and now you get to a point in the show where you're like, I just want to get this done. I want to get it behind me. This is driving me crazy. I'm thinking about it too much. So you get the whole spectrum of feelings there with being a stunt person or stunt coordinator, rather. So, yeah, that adrenaline rush for me is where it's at.
Well, and you're not doing it just on one show, because I know last Thursday you were working at a different place, and then today you were doing a scene with Wrestler. I can imagine what that's like, trying to keep the stunts are probably similar, like you said, but different place, different time. But just the environment and the people you have to figure out the storyline and what these executive producers want versus what these other executive producers want. I mean, that's got to be a challenge as well for you.
Well, sure. Like a perfect example is like a show like The Good Fight or Good Wife. And then you have The Blacklist. And, I'm into that full-time action job, but I still do The Good Fight and did The Good Wife. And their styles of action, when they do it, are 180 degrees different. So it goes back to what I was saying earlier about we don't have agents, and it's word of mouth, who who knows you. And it's the same with those shows. That producer knows me. I know her on The Good Fight, so I know what style that show's going to be. Cut to over here with Laura Benson on The Blacklist, I know what that style is going to be. So you kind of equate it with who hires you and what they're hiring you for. So yeah, it is hard juggling that and maintaining that level of, exactly what tone each show has to be. You have to sit down and really do your homework and write it out and make sure you're on your game.
What's the difference between film and television right now?
The one thing you'll find in film is there's a lot more CGI, and that's because they have the time and money to do it that way. In television, we have a quicker turnaround. Although I don't even know if we call it television now. So new media, they're on like a hybrid deal. They're kind of in between film and television where they set their own air dates, and you're not up against the clock most of the time. And you have actually expendable money, not expendable, but you have a bigger budget usually on these Netflix shows now, and Amazon, I should say, streaming shows. So there's not much of a difference. The biggest difference is time. So I've always said this. You can take a good television stunt coordinator and do any motion picture, but you can't take any good motion picture person and do a television series with them because they're not used to that pace. Mm-hmm. And it's nothing against them. They're super talented people. They're smart. They can set up a stunt that I would never even think of. But it's because they have the time and resources to really figure it out. Where on television you don't. So you got to not necessarily cut corners, and you're not cutting safety corners, not on my shows. But you're still condensed into your thought process. You're doing a show. You're doing an hour of content every 9 days, and they're doing an hour of content over 9 months. Or 2 hours of content over 9 months. So you can see the difference. It's not like back in the earlier days where the predominant stunt coordinator is from a soap opera and there's a slap and that was the big action for the day. Now we're doing the same stuff we're doing in big features and TV. We're doing cannon rolls and pipe ramps, which is car work. You're doing building-to-building jumps. You're doing wire work with flying and superhero stuff with these Netflix shows, the Marvel shows, right? So there's almost no difference anymore. It's not the Saturday morning TV show of the 80s that airs at prime time anymore. You're talking a mini feature every week for just about every show out there. You got Blind Spot and Game of Thrones and Blacklist. You got these shows that just constantly pump out action, and they're not features.
Well, and we talk about it too with the pace on the Blacklist, especially because you guys shoot in tandem. So what's a tandem day like? Do you have to do both episodes, or is there a second unit coordinator that's handling, the other part of the next episode, I guess, for those that don't know what the tandems are? They're shooting 2 episodes on the same day.
We shoot 2 episodes the same day. Sometimes we've had 3 units going on. Like I direct all the action units on the show. So if there's a tandem unit with action, if it doesn't include the main unit director, I'm doing that on my own with the Sun team and my own camera crew. So when I have action on all those units at the same time, then I have my nephew and another guy, Declan Mulvey, and my nephew Chad Hessler, who run those units while I'm over here doing this one. And that happens a lot, where at least one of them is doing one unit while I'm doing the other unit.
But again, you're still ultimately responsible for their obviously output and safety and all of that stuff.
I set everything up, and it's not a dictatorship. We talk about it, and they have ideas. I'm like, yeah, and they'll have ideas who they want to hire. I'm like, sure. But ultimately, the final product is up to me. Like, if they mess up, they don't get in trouble, I do. And I can knock on wood, these guys have been great. They've delivered every time. So you've got to find those people around you, too, that you can help you with these kind of things. The problem is then they get good and they go off and do their own shows. Now I got to hire a new person and get them up to speed on it. But that's a natural process.
How is it when you're dealing with an actor that wants to be a stuntman too? A Tom Cruise.
It's a delicate balance.
Mm-hmm.
You got to get to know them. You got to really get to know them. You got to find out. Sometimes they'll say they want to do it, but they don't really want to do it, but they want to save face. And then you have some that want to do it because they can do it. Diego's a perfect example on Blacklist. He loves doing his own stuff, and I let him majority of the time. Sometimes he'll want to do something, and I won't let him do it because I'm like, listen, I know you can do it, but you could get a lump here, and I can't have you getting hurt.
Just be clear, you just don't want to mess up his hair. That's the real thing.
Right. I didn't say that. Diego, I didn't say that if you're listening. You really have to become friends with them. The cast of Blacklist, they're friends with the entire crew. So it's easy. But you really have to learn to know them. You have to learn their limitations. You have to learn if they have any ailments, right? Somebody could have a bad knee, a bad back, a bad elbow even. And it's your job as a stunt coordinator to befriend them as a member of the show and really learn. And they have to trust you too. So they may not want to do the stunts at first, but then when they get to know you, they may say, hey, I know I trust this guy. Maybe I will do something with him. Or, no, I'm not going to do anything with this guy. You know what I mean? So it really is a balance of a friendship and trust that you have to build with the actors and really get to know their true abilities.
Well, and you've, how did you come to the Blacklist? How did you actually get the job on the show?
Facebook.
Seriously?
Dead serious.
Wow. Explain that. You were stalking John Bokenkamp.
Yeah, right. I was working on a show called Blue Bloods, and they were going through a time where they were changing the producing team. I knew the producer. We've locked horns in the past, which isn't a good thing, right? Mm-hmm. So I saw the writing on the wall, knowing that this guy and I are not going to get along. Plus his brother is a stunt coordinator. I'm sure he's going to get rid of me and bring his brother in. And sure enough, truth be told, the Teamsters overheard him talking before he got there, saying, hey, to his brother, hey, I'm going to get rid of this guy. If you want the job, it's yours.
Ouch.
So, well, they gave me a heads up. I'm like, really? So I actually called them out on it. I called the other producer and him and said, is this how it's going? Anyway, knowing it was going to go bad, I heard about the Blacklist. I was actually shooting Blue Bloods when they were shooting the pilot, heard about the action on it. I knew the stunt coordinator, Ben Bray. I knew he wasn't going to do the show because he was going off. He came to New York just to do the pilot. Once it got picked up in May, I figured out that the show running producer that time, not the writing producer, but the directing producer, was somebody I worked with in the past on on third watch. So I just simply sent him a personal message on Facebook saying, hey, Cort, just want to let you know I'm not going to do Blue Bloods this season. So if you haven't hired anybody, or if you're looking for a stunt coordinator, let me know. I'd really be interested in getting you my information. 5 minutes later, I got a call from the UPM asking me if I'd do the show.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I was like, let me think about it. Yeah.
Hey, Facebook's good for something.
Exactly. I was like, I never used it like that before, but I'm not afraid to use it again like that. Not now. I just think it was just right timing with what was going on with me and Blue Bloods and what was this big, huge stunt show in New York. And it happened to be somebody I'd worked with in the past. Everything just lined up right. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it for the Blacklist.
Curious for the Blacklist in particular. I mean, obviously Emmy Award winning for the Blacklist. Some of your best work up to this point, best yet to come. What was one of your maybe favorite stunts to do on the Blacklist? And then what was like the worst stunt you did? And maybe walk through a little bit about how you set up the stunt and things you were thinking about as you were putting those stunts together.
The best stunt, I think, was a combination. I want to say it was season 3. I can't remember the name of the episode, sorry. But it was like a motorcycle. It was a wrestler and Liz were in a Suburban, and they were chasing a guy on a motorcycle. And they jump out of the car because of traffic, and the motorcycle's kind of weaving through this stopped traffic, and they're on foot chasing the motorcycle down. Motorcycle gets to the intersection where the traffic stops, jets out into the free road where there's no traffic, and gets annihilated by a truck.
I remember that. I don't remember the episode, but I remember that.
Yeah. That stunt, I did a combination of a stunt person and a dummy. Not calling stunt people dummy, but a real dummy. And it was seamless. I did a lot of planning with the special effects team, and we worked out this system and with cables, and then my nephew Chad was driving the motorcycle. When it aired, I got calls from LA. I got calls from other stunt people saying, "Did you kill your nephew?" To me, that's what it's about. You want people in your profession to say, "How the heck did you do that?" So that to me was my best moment on the Blacklist. The worst one, which ended up on film really well, was, I think the name of the episode was Wendell something. This guy, Liz is chasing him. Red's on this other building. The guy jumps from one building to the other, and he's hanging on, and Red comes over and grabs his hands. And he's asking about this this person who's trying to assassinate Liz. Who is he? Who is he?
Yeah.
And the bad guy Wendell doesn't say, so he lets his hands go and lets them drop. Most stressful episode of television for me. Yes.
Why?
So, we had a high line, which the stunt person was hooked to. And the stunt person was the actor. We casted a stunt person to play that part of Wendell. He's jumping like 22, 24 feet from building to building, but they're even. When you're jumping buildings even, it's a lot further than you think, 20 feet, 22 feet. If one's higher than the other and you're jumping down, it's easier.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So with all the ring, we're 120 feet in the air, and we're having him jump from side to side, landing. Red's coming over, grabbing his hands, and everything went fine. One time we'll do a back pick on them. And do you remember when Tom Cruise did the jump and broke his ankle on Mission Impossible? We all seen that video, right?
Well, he hasn't stopped showing it, yeah.
Right. There's actually a back line. It's called a limiter, so he can't get too close to the wall. And it stops him just short so he doesn't take compression of the chest. And he did what you naturally do. You put your foot out to stop you, and that's why he broke his ankle. But his equipment worked. It stopped him from actually making contact with the wall. So this back limiter that we had on the stunt guy, one time he jumped out, and I don't think we could do it again if we tried, but he wrapped his foot around it as he was in the air.
Oh no.
So it pulled his foot backwards and tackled him reverse. So his heels were up by the back of his head. And this is all at 120 feet in the air dangling, and he's screaming. Ended up he was okay. But it was the first time in my career I got so stressed out. We have what's called sides, which is, in case somebody doesn't know, it's a shrunk down version of the script that we carry in our back pocket.
Mm-hmm.
So we got him up. Everything's fine. He's like, "Oh, I'm fine. I'm not hurt. It was scary more than hurt." My blood pressure must have been through the roof because I couldn't even read one word on that page. There's just so much tension. And that, to me, on the Blacklist was my worst day, even though it went great. In fact, that back then, it was about, maybe it wasn't then. I was going to say up until a few years ago, it wasn't about the whole body of work for the Emmys. It was one sequence, really. Mm-hmm. And I want to say it was that sequence that got nominated. As good as it may have turned out, most stressful day on Blacklist, worst day for me. I was just stressed out. And that's, I could talk about, we've had a couple accidents where people got injured, where those are always horrible. Mm-hmm. We've had 2. And with the amount of stunts you do, 2 accidents, you don't want any. But to only come out with 2 after doing this big gags isn't horrible. It's not great. But we had an identical stunt happen that Tom Cruise did. Same gag, jumped building, guy put his foot out and broke his ankle. And then in season 1, we ratcheted Liz backwards, who was a stunt woman. And when she landed, you really got to try to keep your head tucked in, your chin, you want it like welded to your chest. So when you hit the ground, you protect the back of your head, and it just made her, lay out, and she bounced her head off the ground and knocked her out.
Oh, poor thing.
And that was scary. Yeah. And that's listen, if that stuff didn't happen, I don't think we could call it stunt work anymore. So we know that. We try to minimize it. But those are the stressful times. It's when things start going wrong. The stunt may look great. It may turn out great, but it doesn't mean we were all happy about it.
Well, that's fascinating, especially about the ankle. I mean, because at this point, I think everyone has seen the Tom Cruise video because it's at every promotional jump. It's a great way to sell the movie, and show that we did real stunts and everything else. But I didn't quite realize that the equipment and everything was working correctly. It's just a matter of he extended his leg when he shouldn't have. And that's apparently a common problem when you do those jumps. I didn't know that. That's interesting.
In fact, I invite you guys, next time you're out on our set and I'm there, say, hey, Cort, let me see that clip of your guy doing the same stunt. And you're going to be like, oh my gosh, it's the same exact. Is that Tom? No, it's not Tom Cruise. It looks exactly the same accident, the same foot, the same jump, different building, different location, but the same thing. Your natural instinct is to get that foot out in front of you to stop yourself, and you got to rely on your equipment. You got to let your equipment do the job. And that's what happened on both those deals.
Maybe that actually is your footage, and Tom Cruise just used it and just CGI'd it onto a different.
Oh no, he was running much faster than we were. He was flying.
The guy can run. I think that's well documented. He can run.
Yeah, he can run.
What's your lead time typically? Since TV moves a little bit faster than film, I mean, how much time do you usually have to prep a stunt from script to screen?
That's what the difference between film and TV really is. So we get our scripts 7 days before we start shooting. So the most possible time I'll ever have is 7 days on the Blacklist. With that said, the first day is what we call a concept meeting. So we're just all of us sitting in a room, all the department heads just going over the script, and no real questions. We just talk about the script real quick, so everybody really is on the same page as the understanding it. The next day is usually our stunt meeting. So then I sit down with the director and say, okay, let's talk about this. What do we want here? We talk about everything from what you want the stunt to look like to what do you want the stunt people to look like, what ethnicities, what gender. By that time, you've already lost 2 days, right? So now you have 5 days left before you start filming. Now you have to build this stuff. A roll cage for a car is going to take anywhere between, depending how extravagant we're going to do it, 1 and 5 days. Or getting the rigging ready to do a building jump like that, and then we have 2 days to set up the rigging, a day to rehearse it, and then we're shooting the next day. So it's really, really tight timing. And that's to say the scripts are there. A lot of times we get changes, or now our show is really into a process where everything's oiled and it's working. But season 1, we get the script 4 days into prep. So now I only have 3 days to figure it out. So it's really tight schedule.
And while you're prepping, you're still shooting the episode from last week still.
That's right. And then you got that on top of it. So maybe that stunt meeting can't happen that second day because I'm on set. Or maybe they bring the director to me on set, like it happened yesterday. They brought the director to me on set. So I was filming on set, but they were able to have the meeting with me with the director for the next episode. So it's constant movement. And that's, again, going back to the pace that I like. You don't have time to not like it because you're moving so fast. Before you know it, you're done with 10 months of work.
Wow. Now, do you ever go back and watch the show?
Blacklist I watch. Fortunately, I get a cut before it airs. So I get it's on a time-sensitive thing, so I have to watch it within a certain time, otherwise it goes away. I get to watch it before it airs, and I get to see. And I really do it for research. I do it because I know what we shot. I know how we did it. But I want to see what the editors are doing when they cut it together, because a couple things might happen. I may not have to go do this one certain part of it next time, or I may need to add something, some kind of insert or some kind of better angle. So I watch it for research. It's a great show. I'm not saying I don't watch it because it's not a great show. I just don't watch much. I don't watch scripted television because I do so much of it. But I do watch The Blacklist. I directed an episode last season. You really need to know the story. You need to understand it if you're going to be directing them.
No. You didn't direct an episode. You directed like a pivotal episode last season.
I was surprised they gave me that episode. Holy mackerel. As my first one.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, that was the whole, that was the bar scene, right? The whole Jennifer steps in front and then he shoots Red. Yeah. And did Red actually get shot, or was it just a shoulder wound?
Yeah. So now this season they're giving me another episode. I'm going to direct episode 20.
Oh. Have you seen the script? I mean, if you want to just go ahead and let us know what's going on, that'd be great.
That's still a ways out yet.
Shh.
I bet that script hasn't been written yet.
Now I got to ask you, because you work on the film, you work on the stunts, you're going to be directing episodes, and obviously, please don't spoil anything. I'm not asking that because I don't like spoilers. I'm just kind of curious. Do you ever guess ahead yourself as a viewer, as somebody who watches the show? Do you guess at what's going on?
Absolutely. You try and you're part of this show. You're part of this life that's evolving in front of you every day you go into work. So you're absolutely the crew. 100%. Who do you think Red is? Because we don't know. They do not tell us. They will not let that out of the bag. They don't let big story points out of the bag at all for us. So in my eyes, Bogenkamp, Eisendrath are pretty brilliant, because I think, they just throw darts at the wall, whatever sticks they write, but they actually have a plan. You'd be silly, a crew member would be silly to say, nah, I don't think about it. They all do.
Talk a little bit about the Emmys real quick, because I know we got to let you go here soon, but you're nominated for an Emmy for your work on The Blacklist, rightfully so, and you have won once before for the series. So what do you remember, first up, what do you remember about that night when you won an Emmy? What was that like to win that award?
I'll actually never forget it. So I was sitting there. It was the first year. Normally at the Emmys, you sit with your wife or your partner, whoever it is, right? I'm sitting next to my wife, and they come get us all the nominees. They go, oh, guys, we're doing something different this year. We'll bring you down to the front row. So we all line up. We all sit down in the front row, not with our loved ones. So it's like, kind of weird, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is this? And they were doing it to try to get it moving faster, because the creative art Emmys at that time were lasting 5-6 hours for the broadcast, which is horrible. You sit there for 5 or 6 hours. So I remember they made the announcement, and one thing I won't forget is I will forget the people's name. It was Carrie and Joe. They were both from True Blood presenting, and one of the other nominees was a friend of mine, another stunt coordinator, Hiro Koda, and he was nominated for True Blood. And those two actors were from True Blood, and they were presenting. They announce all the nominees, and they show our little reels, and they go, okay, and the Emmy goes to, and Carrie takes the envelope, and Joe looks over her shoulder and looks out there, everybody goes, good luck, Hiro, or no, something like that, like, it's like, I'm like, oh, Hero won. Like, he's calling for Hero right now. And again, I love Hero. He's an awesome stunt coordinator, great friend. So I'm excited. But then they go, the Blacklist, Cort Hessler the third. And I kind of just dropped my head in my hands. I'm like, they just called my name. And then I remember walking up, and I had a weird moment with the actor, Joe. He had the Emmy statue in his hand. And I was like, he's not putting his hand up to shake my hand. So I left my hand down, and I took the Emmy. And then after they walked off stage, while I'm standing there in front of everybody, and Jeff Bridges is looking up at me, I'm thinking to myself, I forgot to shake his hand. And then I, playing it back because they have the Emmy reels for each year, how you thank people and stuff. I didn't know I did this, but I said, oh, this is scary, out loud.
Oh, you don't remember even saying that out loud, huh?
I don't remember saying that. And when I played it back, I'm like, oh my, when did I say that? So you kind of blank. It's a very deer in the headlights, scary thing. It's like, you would think because we crash cars or jump off buildings and start ourselves on fire, nothing would be scary. But let me tell you, I was petrified being up on that stage with these actors looking up at you going, yeah, what do you have to say? But it was a moment that I'll never forget. Prior to that time, I had been nominated 5 times. So that was my 6th time. So up to that point, I was 6-0. And my stunt friends would call me Susan Lucci. So, which is fun. I laughed. I'm like, hey, listen, the first time I got nominated in 2002 was the first group of people to be nominated. I didn't care. To me, being nominated, being an East Coast stunt coordinator, I was in heaven. And every year I got nominated, I'm in heaven because it's all the peers voting, but there's a lot of LA stunt people. So that means they respect my work over here on the East Coast. Mm-hmm. And that was a hard thing to break because there used to be a little bit of animosity between LA or East Coast, West Coast. Hollywood stuntman, Hollywood stunt performer. That's what we were always called. But hey, I live in New York or Florida. I'm not a Hollywood stuntman. So for them to vote on it meant so much to me, even though I never won until 2014. And even if that's the only time I ever win, I'm good. The only thing different this year, my 9-year-old daughter is old enough. I'm taking her to the Emmys this year, just in case I never get nominated again.
Oh, you better
experience it.
You got to win. Hopefully that'll get you some guilt votes.
Yeah, maybe. You never know. But you got to look at all the other shows. There's so much good work out there. You got Game of Thrones.
Oh, yeah, it's hard to argue.
Tough to beat. I did break that though. In 2014, I was up against Game of Thrones. So it can be done, but I don't think this year. I think they have it locked up. I'm okay with that. I think it deserves it. They did a 23-person burn, and it's a world record. They did it. He did it safely. Raleigh's a very talented stunt coordinator, and you don't hear of any accidents happening over there. So that says a lot about him and his work.
What do you mean they burned 23 people?
All at the same time, full burns, head to toe, and it was I saw the submission video. I haven't watched Game of Thrones. I want to watch it, but I want to wait till they're done. I want to watch the whole thing at once, basically. Because, again, I don't really watch scripted TV. It is a scene where this dragon comes down and all the soldiers are in a line, and the dragon just blows fire and lights them all up. Now, most people would think, well, that's all CGI, but no, they really burned 23 people. So,
I thought that was CGI.
Yeah, that's where I was. I was like, I remember that scene.
Yeah.
I'm like, total CGI.
Yeah. There's a great behind the scenes on it that I saw too, where they have, obviously the dragon CGI, but they actually had this thing come down, special effects made, and blow fire down to the ground, and then they just put that into the dragon's mouth. But they burnt these guys, and it was really well done, safely done, and they deserve it.
No, Cort Hessler deserves it.
Well,
so
hey, I'm not saying I want to take it if they offer it to me, but I get it, and there's a lot of great shows out there. It's a very difficult category. And one of the reasons what makes it a really difficult category are stunt people aren't like actors. Actors will work 1 or 2 shows, and they kind of get typecasted, and they can't be cast on other shows. Stunt people work on every show. So like Blind Spot, all the same stunt people on Blind Spot work on Blacklist. And even the Punisher, all those same people on the Punisher worked on Blind Spot or Blacklist. And they're also voting, and they can only vote for one. So
Wow.
it makes it hard for them as voters to figure out which one they're going to vote for, because they're part of all three of them. And then the other two shows are Game of Thrones, which is in Europe, right? England. Mm-hmm. And, I'm drawing a blank. Oh, and Westworld, which is, I think, LA.
That's a tough category right there.
Yeah, if you think about it, it really is. You're taking all your East Coast New York votes, and you're splitting them up between three shows, really.
So when you win, yeah, I said when you win.
I heard that. I'll take that.
Are you gonna take her on stage?
She's a little shy one. She's a great kid, but she's a little shy.
No.
But she's a stunt woman. She's 9 years old, and she's jumping horses and competing every week, and she's champion mini store prior to last year, and looks like she's going to be again this year.
She's gonna be up there, and she'll be on stage herself.
I hope so.
Yeah. Because you've got such an extensive career, and you kind of talked about the Blacklist favorite. What is your all-time favorite stunt in any medium?
As a performer?
Either one, a performer or coordinator that you've been involved with in some way.
One of my favorite movies that I like to talk about, and I only spent I guess 2 weeks on it, maybe a week and a half on it, was Talladega Nights.
If you're not first, you're last.
Exactly. So for 10 hours a day, for a week and a half, I got to drive a race car as fast as it would go at Rockingham Racetrack. And I had a smile on my face from morning until dark. And Will Ferrell was absolutely amazing. There's two quick stories I'll tell you. One is we have these things called honey wagons, or like little campers that each one of the stunt people are in. He would knock on every door every morning. I just want to say, I'm really glad you're here, and go all the way down the row. There were 20 stunt car drivers. I thought that was pretty cool. The other personal cool thing for me was I was on what's called second unit, and the second unit director, Jack Gill, was there, and he was driving a car, but he's also directing second unit and stuff. And this was we were by ourselves really with Will and a smaller unit of people. So I got there my very first day. I looked at the call sheet, and I look at the call sheet and say, "Oh, what friends am I going to see today? What stunt friends?" And every single name on that list was a NASCAR driver, and I was the only stunt guy.
Oh, wow.
So now I have this pressure built up. Day one, they go, "Okay, go warm your cars up." So I walk down to my car. I get in. It was one of the Wonder cars. And I get in it, and I start to get in the first gear and kind of lift the clutch out and kind of pull out. But all other 19 cars were doing 100 miles an hour to the pit. So I'm like, okay, we're just going to go. We're just going to do it. So I'll never forget that. It wasn't a spectacular stunt. We were just driving and racing, but it's the most fun I had on a single set. Other than War of the Worlds, the camaraderie of the stunt people, we all clicked. We were on the show from beginning to end. And on the East Coast, we were up and down the East Coast from Virginia all the way up to upstate New York. And we had our own little private charter plane that we'd all get on to go to set. Not to set, but Virginia or fly up to upstate New York. And we just clicked as a group. There were probably 30 of us. And every morning, we filmed nights. So every morning we had something called the Breakfast Club. What was the hotel bar? We're leave the bar open. I know we're not getting home till 5 a.m., but leave it open. And you're going to have a packed house. And they're like, okay, we'll try it the first night. 250 people showed up the first night.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So from that point on, we called it Breakfast Club. And the bartenders ended up getting rooms at the hotel so they could sleep during the day and then open at 5 a.m. It was great.
That's amazing.
So those are two movies that I'll never forget. And for those reasons, one was the stunt people and the fun we had on it. And the other was my own personal fun of being on this Talladega Nights movie, driving race cars and just having a blast in my own little world.
All right, so you got to level with us because you've worked with some of the biggest names in Hollywood: Will Smith, Angelina Jolie, Tom Selleck, the Cumberbatch, I think, and James Spader. Have you ever been starstruck?
Starstruck, Roy Scheider.
Really?
Yeah, because that was when I first starting out, and I didn't know what to expect, and I was in awe for almost the entire season. And then for him to invite me to his house for a holiday party, I was like, oh my gosh, this is great. And it was a gated community in Orlando. And yeah, he'd be the one, if I'd say that. I've worked with Tom and Tom Cruise and Will Smith. And I will tell you about people like Will Smith and Tom Cruise. They're amazing. And one thing that I respect about them, so I don't think it's being starstruck because I work with them. Like, you end up, you respect them, but I don't think I would call it starstruck. So one thing that I really enjoyed about Will, and I really enjoyed about Tom Cruise, Will Smith was on I Am Legend, Tom Cruise I worked with on War of the Worlds, is people come out. They come out to these filming locations. They're held back in the lockups, and they're standing there for 18 hours just to get a glimpse of these guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
The end of filming, I'll start with Tom Cruise first in War of the Worlds. We're in downtown Ironbound. We're filming 14, 16 hours. I don't know what time it is. We're just going every day. And every day when we're wrapped, he goes, hang on a minute. He walks all the way over to where the lockup is, and he starts saying hi and signing autographs. And I just thought that gesture, he understands why he's where he's at. He took the time. In fact, they had to pull him off. They no, it's time to go. He goes, no, a couple more. No, it's time to go. We got to get you out of here.
Wow.
And then, like, I Am Legend, Will Smith, we were filming on the river in January at 4 o'clock in the morning, and it's this huge scene where the helicopters are evacuating the island, and they crash together and go down, and that's when he loses his family. And the dog, not the dog, but he loses his family. 3 o'clock in the morning, Will Smith jumps up on one of the tables. I don't remember what it was. And the crowd's out there just getting a glimpse of him. And he starts rapping and saying, hey, I'm glad you guys are out here. Just having fun and getting everybody fired up. To me, that's real. That's something special. So those moments, I could say I was starstruck. But it means a lot. It means a lot to me, and I think they understand where they come from. And I think they understand why they're there and not just the talent they have, which is undisputable, but the fans, and they play to them, and they agree with them, and it keeps the whole circle going. So I know that was a long-winded question, or an answer to your question, but I've been starstruck once, and then I've had special moments, but majority of the time I feel like we're working together, so we have to maintain a professional relationship, and it can't be that.
That's good to know. I've got a friend who we're in constant at odds about Tom Cruise because they're not a fan, and I'm just like, I don't know how you can't respect the guy. He loves making movies more than I think any actor I've seen in Hollywood. So
yeah, and he's a people person. I mean, he has his things. Listen, I'm not going to go into that stuff. That's his business. I just know the person I see on set when I'm working with him, and I respect that person. I can tell you some others I don't respect, but I won't go into that. Maybe on the side when I see you guys, but I would definitely tell you who they are.
I'm looking forward to that because we'll definitely, hopefully, be catching up again.
Yeah, that sounds great.
After he wins.
Sure. I tell you what, I'll call you guys if I win. I'll call you from the Emmys.
Please. Oh, man. Do that. Do it.
I will. I'll FaceTime you.
That sounds good. Hey, I got a question. Is there anything without spoiling anything, can you give us any kind of tease for the upcoming season, or just let us know, is it going to be action-packed, dramatic? What are you feeling for the upcoming season?
I would say this without spoiling anything. The hunt is on. It may not be so much villain of the week as much as we're going to find some truths out. So that's where I can leave it.
I guess that's a really good question for you. Like, what's that like, being the fact that you've had this different experience of the time jumps going back and forth with the seasons? Now you get this amazing, and I'm sure it's probably more fun for the writers, but I got to imagine it's fun for everybody on set. This 22 episodes in a row. You literally get to tell like one major story, boom, 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 boom. Is that changed on set at all this season because of that scheduling?
For us, it's daunting. 22 episodes are like, oh, here we go. But it's exciting every time we open up that script and find out a new little piece of the puzzle. All of it, like we talked about earlier, we all have our own theories, right?
Mm-hmm.
And every time I open up that flipping script, it blows a hole in one of them. Every week. So these guys are good at sending on a little bit of a twisty, windy turn, and I think that's what helps make the show successful.
Man, thank you so much, Cort, for taking the time to talk to us. It's been an honor to talk to you.
No, it's been fun. I appreciate you guys reaching out to me, and glad we could find the time to actually have the conversation.
And of course, we're definitely rooting for you. Of course, if we could vote, we certainly would. But yeah,
I appreciate that.
Got to get another win for the Blacklist. That'd be great.
I'd love that, but we'll see.
And eventually, you're going to get that damn Oscar. That's going to happen in my lifetime. If I have anything to say about it, and I don't, but
well, maybe we'll see.
It needs to happen.
It does, and I just hope it happens. I don't care if I'm involved. I just hope it happens.
Just know that us fans love what you guys do, because we know it's dangerous and you're basically risking lives to entertain, and that's a pretty amazing feat.
Well, thanks for that. It's much appreciated that you guys know what's going on, you know?
Absolutely. Well, thanks for coming by. We'll let you go.
All right, sounds good. I hope to see you guys soon on the Blacklist. Talk to you guys soon.
Super fun to talk to Cort. Obviously got a chance to meet him in person when we were out there for the 100th episode a while back. So really great to have a nice in-depth conversation, because he was obviously working at the time. But really great stuff there, Aaron. Stuff even you being the Hollywood Outsider podcaster, movie fans there could appreciate it as well.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to share it there, because I at some point, because that's the kind of stuff that we normally talk about on that podcast is the ins and outs of moviedom. And for me, I mean, I wasn't kidding. The whole stuntman not being nominated for Oscars is something that bugs the shameel out of me. I've actually been advocating for that on my show since I started it 8 years ago. So for 8 years, that's been an issue as far as I'm concerned. That stunt coordinators haven't been recognized in the Oscar community, and how that still is a thing, I can't understand. Because you got plenty of time to do musical numbers we don't need, then figure out a way to make stunt performers get what they deserve.
Yeah, I mean, and as much flack as we've given the Emmys over the years as television people on my side of the house, just because it seems like the same people win all the time, good on them for actually getting out in front of this stuff and having this in the category and being the first one. So take back all the bad things I said about the Emmys. Kudos to you. Kudos.
For almost 20 years. It's almost 20 years ahead. Come on. I mean, come on. We give awards for special effects and CGI and everything else, costume design, but not stunt performers. They risk their lives. That's all I'm going to say. I get very passionate about this. I can actually get a little, you know what, Cort, we're just happy you got nominated, and I hope you win, and I hope you have a great time that night. With your niece, right? It was his niece, right?
Yeah, and then, of course, the FaceTime call is going to call us from the Emmys, because it's about as close to the Emmys as I'll probably ever get.
Yeah, I'm going to be waiting. If he doesn't call, I'll be very sad. I'll be very disappointed if I don't get a call from Cort, because you know what? You know what I'd be thinking if I won an Emmy Award? Why don't I call Troy? It's not true.
Not true.
I'd be like, Troy, who? That's what I'd be thinking, and that's probably what he's going to be thinking. I don't blame him.
Which is totally fine.
All right, that's
totally fine.
That's going to do it for this episode of The Blacklist Exposed. I'm Agent Aaron Peterson. You can find me telling a little story on Smirk.
And I'm Agent Troy Heinertz. And right now, if you are listening to this before September 30th, International Podcast Day is around the corner. So we will be able to find out if we won for the Blacklist. Thanks to all of you for voting and making that happen for us.
Yes, we are finalists. So thank you very much for helping us get to the final round. And we'll see what happens with that. But for right now, I think that's going to do it for this episode of The Blacklist Exposed.
That's right. We'll see you in January, unless we get some more good stuff before then. Stay subscribed. You never know. Until next time, I'm Agent Troy Heinritz. That's at Troy Heinritz on Twitter. And if you want to learn more about me, just visit, about.me/Troy Heinritz.
And I'm Agent Aaron Peterson. You can hear me talking about movies and TV on the Hollywood Outsider podcast, as well as Remake This Movie Right. We are available at thehollywoodoutsiders.com or on Twitter at 5popcorn. Be sure to subscribe, download the app, submit your feedback, but most importantly, keep yourself off of the Blacklist.
The Blacklist Exposed is a Golden Spiral Media production. Find more of our great podcasts at goldenspiralmedia.com/podcasts.